Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. And this morning we are blessed to be on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Thank you to Joel and Aisha for handling that this morning. Steve Graddick's punching the buttons in the control room. And I'll introduce you to my guest here shortly. Many of you already see her on the News Talk 1330 Facebook Live page. Our main topic this morning that we're going to focus on is the November ballot referendum for the city of Carrollton residents. Election day is November the 8th. You know all the other stuff that'll be on there. But for residents of Carrollton, they will vote for Redevelopment Powers Law. Get to vote for one, yes or no. Shall the act be approved, which authorizes the City of Carrollton to exercise redevelopment powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law, as it may be amended from time to time? And you get to say yes or no. We'll explain one perspective on why that possibly could be good for Carrollton, and I'll just, be devil's advocate, and I'll say what about. We'll see how that works out. But Karen Handel is our guest this morning, one of our favorite guests. Lovely, delightful, pleasant, but she could put a foot in your butt if you need it. She's president and CEO of Carroll Tomorrow and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here, and a happy belated 5-0, the big 5-0 for you.
Hey, I tell you what, there were people who said I wasn't going to make it, but I did it.
Well, look at you.
50. Yeah, that's at least going to make it to 51. That's a
there
promise.
You go.
We will talk about the TAD, Tax Allocation District. We'll talk about those redevelopment powers, how that creeps into or is the umbrella for potential TAD, and perhaps maybe differentiate the Carrollton one from what people may understand in Villa Rica, because that's getting a lot of some negative connotations and negative pub up in Villa Rica. We'll talk about that. But first of all, give us an update on the Chamber and Carroll Tomorrow. What is going on with you in Rhino and B?
Always a lot going on, especially when you have Rhino and be at the helm over on the Chamber side. So we'll have next week, we'll announce our Leadership Carroll cohort. We have the largest group of leaders coming in ever. It's Leadership Carroll's 30th anniversary. Hat tip to Fred O'Neill, who had the great vision to bring that out of the ground when he was chairman of the Chamber. We'll have 37.
I had no idea. That was Fred O'Neill's idea 30 years ago. Wow.
30 years ago. And we'll have 37 individuals participate in that. We stepped off our new class of junior chamber last week. They were out, or 2 weeks ago. And last week they were out at Banning Mill doing the ropes course and lots of leadership training there. We will, on October 19, the CEO of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, Chris Clark, will be in for a lunch. That's October 19 at City Station. So that should be an interesting program. He will talk about the new economy in Georgia and what he sees from a statewide perspective. On the Carroll Tomorrow side for economic development, it's just a blistering pace of interest in our county. It's interesting, when you look at the saturation out 85, 75, and even 20 towards Augusta, kind of this western corridor is what I'll call kind of the new frontier, and that comes with it all kinds of great opportunities, but also some challenges. And we want to make sure, first and foremost, that our legacy companies, our existing industry, have all the support they need, because 80% of new job creation is going to come from our existing companies, and they are expanding. We're helping over a dozen different companies with small to medium to significant expansions that within the next 14 to 18 months, probably well over 1,000 new jobs, Colin, and that's a lot.
That is a lot. Are we going to be able to fill those? Because we keep hearing the stories that all these jobs are out there that we can't fill right now.
Well, one of the really great assets for Carroll County is our labor shed. We engaged the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute a couple of months ago to do an analysis, and that was nothing against our friends, Dr. Kelly over at UWG. That's not their sweet spot. When I asked Dr. Kelly about it, he said, Karen, we would have partnered with UGA on this anyway, so go for it. But we found some interesting data. First of all, our labor shed is 3.5 million potential workers.
The labor shed, does that just mean how many people we potentially could bring in to work? Yes, that we could
bring in, exactly. So we can draw from Metro Atlanta, 75 West, Alabama East, down from the north, up from the south. So that's an incredible asset for us. Then we have such exceptional living in our community. Whether you are in Carrollton or Temple or Villa Rica, Whitesburg, Roopville, I mean, we have just an amazing quality of life. In fact, the study that UGA did showed that 40% of people live and work in Carroll County. That is almost double any other county in the state.
Wow.
That's amazing. So our opportunity is to really look at the quality of life and who are the people we need to bring in to fill these jobs. And that's what we'll be working on in phase 2 of our workforce initiative.
With the Savannah digging out the harbor and all that, and train traffic going to pick up and things like that, are businesses coming here to look? I mean, because we're far enough away. But I mean, are they any interested businesses like that are taking advantage of the harbor that will be shipping things? Is there any reason for them to look to us to set up?
Absolutely, for sure. And there's been, obviously some talk in the recent months about the Ports Authority's planned West Central Georgia inland port in LaGrange. That is many years out. Planning for that will not even begin for at least another 5 years. But still, we are so well situated. I mean, proximity is another great asset for us. We are far enough out from the intensity of traffic and hustle and bustle of city of Atlanta, yet we are an easy and importantly consistent 45, 55 minutes to the airport and back. If you have to travel and you have friends that live, say, up 400, do a bet with them and say, who's going to get home first? And they'll think it's them, but every time it's the one in Carroll County who gets home first.
Yeah, you're going to sit in traffic in downtown Atlanta or on 285 now, especially. I mean, either where you're going eastbound. I mean, westbound's not so special either.
That's right.
From the north.
And we've had some great new prospects as well. Since January, we've had 36 major project inquiries about Carroll County. We've had 9 or 10 site visits. We have a Fortune 100 company looking in Carroll County and several other large projects as well. The state has said, while people are very starry-eyed about these mega sites, these 5,000-6,000 acre sites, really what they're most in need of are 100 to 1,000 acre sites. And that really is more in line with the personality and character of Carroll County and West Georgia. So we're going to have our fair share there. Are
you guys the first people they go to, those big businesses? Do they go to the chamber? I mean, first of all, they're going to do some studies first, I guess, maybe.
It's kind of a mixed bag. Typically, the company will have a broker and helping them look for property or a site, etc. And they might either come to us directly, they may come through us, go through the State Department of Economic Development to us, and often Carroll EMC and Georgia Power might be involved as well because they have very significant economic development departments too.
Start that business up. All right, Karen Handel is President and CEO of Carroll Tomorrow and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest this morning. I want to come back after this break and talk about that November ballot referendum. Just wanted to catch up with Karen a little bit in that first segment. But in the second segment, we'll come back and remind you what a tax allocation district is and talk about this referendum that only Carrollton City residents will vote on the November 8th ballot. Next Monday is the first day for early voting, that 3-week period. And, of course, on that ballot, you're going to vote for governor and secretary of state and lieutenant governor and all that good stuff. Time out now is 8:39. I do encourage you to check us out on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. And any questions or comments you have for Karen, please post them, and I will look at those and share them. Community Voice is brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
All right, 841. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I am your host, Colin Worthington. Good morning to those of you watching us on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Again, I encourage any questions or comments. Feel free to post those, and I will look. Our guest this morning, Karen Handel, President, CEO of Carroll Tomorrow and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. She's part of a group. Well, the Chamber of Commerce did vote. The board did vote to go out and promote this and say, hey, we support this referendum. So they will be talking locally. You'll see a campaign locally for the next 3 weeks for their support. Again, the November ballot referendum, November the 8th, it's for the City of Carrollton special election redevelopment powers law. You're going to vote yes or no, whether you support it or not. Shall the act be approved, which authorizes the City of Carrollton to exercise redevelopment powers under the redevelopment powers law as it may be amended from time to time.
And that is so clear what that means.
What that means, right? I was going to say, is there anything else on the ballot? Does it explain it? Or
No,
we need to do our homework and
that
study it up
is the
before then?
only thing that can be on there. State statute sets in code what the question on the ballot has to look like. And that's one of the big reasons that the Chamber Board did vote to support this effort and to authorize the establishment of a chamber committee called Friends of Carrollton. Mm-hmm. That is being co-chaired by Kirby Butler and Jay Gill. Other members are John Jackson and Brian Dill, because we really believe that this is a tool that the city of Carrollton very much needs. Having these redevelopment powers would allow Carrollton to create tax allocation districts. And a tax allocation district is an economic development financing tool that is temporary to help spur redevelopment and private investment in areas that otherwise wouldn't be able to attract that investment because of blight or lack of infrastructure and things of that nature.
And yeah, that's been my perspective of it. I mean, just property that you really wouldn't, nobody else would be excited about unless you're going to help the developer out a little bit.
That's right, and we've seen firsthand with, especially in the retail, restaurant, amenities space, kind of the non-interest in Carrollton when you look at the Maple Street corridor or Adamson Square or the Bankhead block or along the bypass. So imagine if we were able to, without raising taxes, have prettier streetscape along Maple Street with more sidewalks and common utility poles without so many wires hanging overhead, or in the Adamson Square district, high-end development with more restaurants and out the Bankhead block to make the shopping centers more inviting and have a little green space so that we could start to attract more restaurants and some family experiences and amenities as well. And that's what tax allocation districts let us do. In addition to that, TADs give the city the ability to say no. So within the TAD, there's much greater latitude to establish what the city and the people of Carrollton want in terms of development, and a lot more power and authority to dictate that, because up front, a redevelopment plan has to be put in place that citizens, and they'll have at least 2 opportunities in public hearings to comment on that before it's finalized.
And improving redevelopment powers, I mean, is it just TAD?
Yes.
That'll be it.
That's
not.
it.
Okay.
Yes.
And well, how come they won't say that on the?
That's how they wrote the law.
Yeah. and again, it'll be a tax allocation district, and also when you're voting, I guess the specific tax allocation district has not been officially determined. There's been some suggestions of where
Correct.
that money could be used, but we're not voting at this time where that tax allocation
Correct.
district could
That's
be.
right. What will happen is the city, and they have established a redevelopment committee, and they are working on that. And they will have to lay out what the boundaries of a TAD look like. And then that has to go to public hearings. Then it has to go to city council, and the mayor and council would need to approve it. And some of the ideas under consideration, I think everybody's been talked about. The Maple Street corridor, there'd already been an initiative on that. You've got Adamson Square, I just call it the Bankhead Block, more things we could do there. And then out the bypass. I think those are kind of the natural quadrants that we would look at. And it's also important to keep in mind that there's limits. The city can only tad out, if you will, a maximum of 10% of its total tax digest. So it's not as though, the overwhelming majority would be put into a tad.
So it's not like a land size or anything. It's going to be the tax collection in a certain
Correct.
place.
Correct.
Again, tax allocation district. We're seeing it happen in Villa Rica, and we're seeing it's been a struggle for them to get the county to cooperate or see their side. I don't want to say they can't cooperate. And now the school board has the option to join in an intergovernmental agreement. But we're seeing this dragged out. I think Villa Rica had hoped to have this done by the early part of the summer. But right now, can you compare? Was Carrollton going to have to deal with the same kind of issue?
Yes, the county and the city school system
It'll
will
be
have
city
to.
schools, not the Carroll
right,
County
they
School.
will have to approve the redevelopment plan as well. I want to commend actually Chairman Morgan, Commissioner Chance, and Mayor McDougall. While they have not been able to come to an agreement, certainly things got way closer than they were last December, and all parties worked very, very hard. And, this is the first time we're doing this in Carroll County. And, it's important to consider that TADs have been around for decades. Anyone who's listening, if you've been up to Rome or over to Gainesville, the transformation of their downtowns really were driven by the creation of tax allocation districts. So this isn't anything new in terms of a tool. It's new to us, but it's not a new economic development tool. And one of the differences between Villa Rica's TAD and Carrollton's TAD, Villa Rica wanted to do bonds to pay for the infrastructure. Carrollton has decided that they are going to do pay as you go. So it is a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with either model. It's just a different approach to how to do it. And it makes the negotiations a little bit different for how you would strike an agreement.
But it's still a 50-year agreement, right, for those?
No, it does not have to be 50. Typically the average for a TAD is between 15 and 25 years.
But as far as the document they sign initially, does the state mandated that they have to sign it and say 50 years, even if you don't go that long?
I'm not sure. I have to ask the lawyers. Typically, though,
and everybody's saying it could be 10 to 15 years, like no big deal. But
and I think probably the longer term on it is because of the bonding component of it.
Right.
You have outside investors; they want to make sure that they will ultimately get their return on investment. So I think that has to do with trying to sell those bonds.
And that's the key. The investors, the developers, they need to get their money back.
That's right, because there's no risk or obligation to the taxpayers within the jurisdiction or to the county.
And that's the key.
None.
That's the big thing you guys are going to be
right.
pushing when you promote this. Before deciding on what will be the tax allocation district, does a business have to come forward and say, I'm interested in this, or you guys, or will the city decide, hey, this is where we want it, and then try to kind of promote it that way?
The city will drive that. So through their redevelopment committee and putting together that redevelopment plan.
All right. Karen Handel is the president and CEO of Carroll Tomorrow and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. We're going to take our final break and come back, and we'll continue talking about the tax allocation district, the potential tax allocation district, and Carrollton City residents, voters' opportunity to decide on whether or not the city of Carrollton should have the redevelopment powers, which will ultimately lead to developing a tax allocation district. Again, I'll look on our Facebook page, see if there's any questions or comments for Karen. We have about 10 minutes left in the show. When we come back, time right now, 8:49, Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
At Oak Mountain Academy, we value our grandparents and special friends. Throughout our 60-year legacy of excellence, our grandparents have been a vital component to our success. Friday, September 30th, we celebrated their generosity and continued support at our annual Grandparents' Day celebration. Please join me in thanking all of the grandparents for their amazing contributions to the lives of their beloved grandchildren. I'm Patrick Urian, head of school. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. The Warrior Legacy, celebrating 60 years of excellence. Warrior-minded, warrior-driven, warrior-led.
8:51. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Good morning. I'm Colin Worthington. My guest this morning is Karen Handel, President and CEO of Carroll Tomorrow and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. This last segment lasts about 8 minutes. We're going to talk about the referendum that is on the ballot for Carrollton residents. It's the Redevelopment Powers Law question. It's a simple yes or no. We're trying to get out as much information as we possibly can to potential voters, as early voting does begin next Monday, 3-week period before the November 8th election. As I turn to our Facebook page, Leslie McPherson over there in Vicarilla, she says, "Good morning, Colin and Karen. Thank you for helping educate
morning,
the public
Councilwoman.
on this. Appreciate the emphasis on taking care of our existing businesses." Derek Newt, the Reverend Newt, he says, "In a time when property taxes are the highest we have seen, why not use the excess tax revenue for these projects instead of changing the law?"
On that, in order for the excess property taxes to be used to do the project, that's why we need the TAD.
Tax allocation district.
That's exactly what this would do, Reverend.
Right. You couldn't stop it. You couldn't set that level and then collect without
Correct.
going through the TAD.
That's right.
And who defines a neighborhood of blight? What is blight? That's also Derek.
It's actually set in the statute, but it obviously is a pretty broad definition of what blight looks like, and that will be for that city commission that they establish. They will set that. And again, I think the 4 areas that are being looked at are the Maple Street corridor, then the downtown Adamson Square district, the Bankhead block, and then potentially along the bypass and maybe out Noonan. I'm not sure how they could do that, Noonan, Old Noonan, because you do have to do the math because of that cap of 10%.
Yeah. What we say infrastructure just so easy. Just to make it a simple soundbite. What are some of the examples of that money collected they pay for?
Upgraded roads, sidewalks, prettier power lines, more green space. Imagine Oil Park, if we could transform that to be a more enhanced family gathering space with Wi-Fi hotspot for people. If we have more sidewalks along Maple Street, that we could have greater connectivity from Adamson Square down to Maple Street Common Shopping Center and enhance walkability, or go out Bankhead Highway and have more green space, make those shopping centers along there much more appealing, that then we could if we do better on the parking lots and just make it look more attractive, we then have the ability to bring in better retail and more restaurants.
And I guess trying to compare
without raising taxes.
And we'll try and reiterate that a couple more times before the end of the program. But again, comparing Villa Rica's plan to Carrollton's plan, it feels more like because Villa Rica's, that was just a big as a forest, where they made their tax allocation district and totally clearing it out and putting in the big box stores and potential restaurants. But it doesn't seem like Carrollton has that same kind of plan. They just want to kind of fix what's already there. is it just empty businesses that they want to bring in?
I mean, it
or?
is a different approach, Carrollton and Villa Rica. So Villa Rica very much wanted to have, and I believe they'll still do this with or without the TAD, but to do the Jeff Fuquay project, which really will be transformative for the city of Villa Rica, and open up, I don't know what they're calling it, but the big boulevard to connect downtown Villa Rica.
I think Mirror Lake Connector.
Yeah, something like that, out to that development. So that would be really transform how the city would look. If you are in Carrollton, we have a completely different layout. Villa Rica versus Carrollton, you don't have the railroad track. Well, you do have railroad, but not on Maple Street, not kind of, right where your retail hub will be, and it's not there isn't rail right at downtown Adamson Square. And we already have our avenue, if you will, our boulevard for our downtown. And so we are in an ability to, as a community, do more of an upgrade where for all of us, for Villa Rica, we were in a place where that was much more new, brand new out of the ground, if you will.
Is there the perspective that this, once it's complete and the projects are done, that this could improve the value of people's properties, surrounding properties?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And is it just because it's more attractive and potential for more people, businesses or more people to come see the businesses and drop through?
That's right. And, for everyone who thinks, gosh, I wish we just had one more restaurant. This is our way to do it without raising taxes and to make the city of Carrollton more appealing for private investment. And same, that was Villa Rica's and remains Villa Rica's intention as well.
Well, why don't you think that Villa Rica, and I don't know if you can comment on it really, but why don't you think Villa Rica is able to work it out with the county government and so far the board?
It's just a different approach in terms of how the financing is going to happen. And whenever you put bond financing in the middle of something, it just makes it far more complicated. But, I'm optimistic. The city of Villa Rica is working very productively with the school board, and that's probably the most important partnership. The county portion of the millage is not as robust and as high as much as it would be with the school board. So, and, I would like to think that while, for the county, they're taking a break, who knows, sometimes their front door closes and the window opens.
Well, again, we have about 2 minutes left in the program. Again, Carrollton City residents will be voting on this initiative, on this referendum. Only the city of Carrollton this go around anyway. It's on the November 8th ballots. Special election redevelopment powers law. The question is, shall the act be approved, which authorities the city of Carrollton to exercise redevelopment powers under the redevelopment powers law, as it may be amended from time to time. So, but we do encourage you to study up on that. And
we'll have a website, friendsofcarrollton.org. It'll be up. The committee should have that up in the next 2 days.
Oh, very good. And,
and it'll have a big Q&A document in there.
And as we hit it, people maybe just tuning in, people getting to work at 9 o'clock and they get to tune in for just a couple of seconds. What are the big points you want to hit as far as the potential tax allocation district?
Vote yes for the redevelopment powers to give Carrollton the ability to create TADs. It's our way to enhance the infrastructure to attract private development without raising taxes. If you would like to see a few more restaurants, some family experiences, and more amenities in the city of Carrollton, this is the way to do it, to have high quality redevelopment without raising taxes.
And there's a tax that whatever the tax is right now, tax collections
Stays
are right now,
same.
it'll be set there, and all the money collected over a period of time, that's what will go to the infrastructure to pay for that potential growth, right?
You got it.
Fair enough. All right. Karen Handel, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. We do appreciate you tuning in for it as well. Tomorrow, Sarah Claudia Kane Tillman is back in this seat as she hosts another inspirational program. You'll catch that on the News Talk 1330 Facebook Live channel, as well as the News Talk 1330 FM 106.3 radio stations. As Steve Graddick would say, go out and make it a great day. Carrollton, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
Thank you.